What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today I have some phenomenal news to share with all of you sanity-loving Americans out there. That's right, the Wicked Witch is gone. Which old witch? Alissa Heinerscheid. Was the VP of marketing for Anheuser-Busch. You may have recalled that I did a video very recently about the fallout that has visited Anheuser-Busch since Alissa Heinerscheid took her mandate to save the company and partnered with trans lunatic Dylan Mulvaney. Well, despite the fact that companies have been getting along with it, getting away with this quite a bit recently, it seems that Anheuser-Busch has not been so likely. I believe the last time I checked, their stock was down 6.2%. And Newsweek and a number of other agencies reporting this morning that Alissa Heinerscheid has taken a leave of absence, which I'm pretty sure means that she's fired or is quitting because her replacement has already been named. So again, for all of you sanity-loving Americans out there, and by sanity I mean people who believe that you can only be the fucking gender you were born, this is very, very good news for those of us who, happen to be old school, I guess. So finally, we have a case where going woke really may cause this company to go broke, or at least it has caused them to lose quite a bit of market share in a very short period of time. In my previous video, I talked about the fact that they lost like $5 billion really in the first week of this scandal. So good for Anheuser-Busch that they decided to stop the bleeding, and whether this was voluntary on her part or not, it must have been a tough place to work there this last week or so. So there you have it. Very good news regarding Anheuser-Busch. In other news, again, for sanity-loving Americans, if Alissa Heinerscheid was the Wicked Witch, then this next person I want to talk to about would be like her incestuous brother. And that is none other than Gavin Newsom, the biggest cuck that ever walked the fucking planet Earth. If I had to pick out one man in all of human history that I think is one of the biggest low-life sacks of shit that ever walked the earth, it would definitely be that Gavin Newsom made the list. I don't know that he'd be number one, but he's definitely close to the top. I have never in my life seen more bad ideas wrapped up inside of one tiny, feeble little brain than with what we get every time Gavin Newsom opens his cuck mouth. I think he literally did get cucked out, in fact, by none other than Don Jr.'s current wife. Which, I mean, if you're a liberal and you get cucked, man, I can't imagine any worse person to do it to you than, the son of your arch nemesis. Very fitting in that regard. But enough of my diatribe. What I'm actually talking about is that Gavin Newsom finally admitted failure of his entire fucking worldview and called in the National Guard and the California Highway Patrol to put an end to the fucking open market drug dealing that's been going on in San Francisco, particularly in what they call the Tenderloin area. Maybe somebody from Cali can explain to me why that's called the Tenderloin. I just know that it happens to be called that. This I'm actually going to talk a little bit more at length about because, as my wife mentioned to me earlier today, she said, well, don't you think this is sort of a loss for me, from my worldview? And what she's getting at is that I happen to be a proponent of legalized drugs. I think that we should legalize all hardcore drugs. Now, calm down before my fellow conservatives in the audience go, "What? I thought that you were a conservative. What kind of insanity is this that you're talking about? Look what's happened in every single city that has decriminalized drugs. They've all turned into cesspools of filth and crime and violence." My argument would be because they didn't legalize drugs the way they should have. I never suggested that it would be a good idea to let people wander around in the streets selling drugs and banging heroin into the arms. That's not what I was talking about. I hope it wasn't what anyone who was a proponent of legalized drugs was talking about. My idea of legalized drugs just really gets back to what I view to be our constitutionally protected right. I think that you should pretty much be free to do whatever you want inside the confines of your own home or private spaces, so long as that it doesn't really negatively affect someone else. So no, you can't be a pedophile. No matter how much some of you people seem to want to try to normalize this behavior, it's disgusting, despicable, and reprehensible. I think pedophilia should get the death penalty first time. You get convicted of any type of crime involving a child, death sentence. And I'm not talking about 10 years on death row and a whole bunch of appeals. You get found guilty by a jury of your peers because of a preponderance of evidence. We take you from the courthouse to the fucking execution chamber, one-way ticket, and we put you out of your fucking misery. That's what we should do. We should be eradicating pedophiles from our midst. To me, this is like the biggest no-brainer known to man. If there was one thing that you cannot have in a functional society, it's fucking pedophiles. But no, what our society and the societies around the world are trying to do is actually normalize this disgusting behavior, and I can only hope that this is going to fail on a monumental level. As it pertains to drugs, I do not think that they are equally that big of a problem. And let me tell you why. I think drug addiction, I happen to be one, is a problem that sorts itself out in most cases. My brother was a drug addict, and my brother is fucking dead. That's right. My brother died of a heroin overdose. I suspect, based on the circumstances, that this may have been intentional. I do not know for certain. What I do know was that he was involved with some very dangerous people, and there were some very harsh accusations made that he might have been snitching on some of these people. And then, lo and behold, he did a speedball and died in a hotel room. Very unfortunate for myself and for all the members of our family. Unfortunately, this did not come as a surprise to me. He had been going down a very bad path for a very long time. So having been someone who's been directly affected by the opioid crisis and by drug laws and all of these things, you would think maybe that I would be a person who was like, no, drugs are bad. Look what they did to your brother. I think that that's not the way the American society was designed to work. I think that my view of government is that government should have the smallest amount of impact on our day-to-day lives as possible. At the end of the day, we should be free citizens, and we should be free to do whatever we want to do, include kill ourselves, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. Now, you could make the argument that if you're a parent and you're a drug addict, there's kids in the house, that this is negatively affecting them, and there are circumstances where that I feel that might be true. But we've got people who've been locked up, sent to prison for partying on the weekend, for smoking a little weed, for taking a little bit of X with their girl. This kind of shit is not endangering anyone. And it really is just it's a travesty that it takes over our legal system and then it creates the problems that it creates. I do, however, think that it should be very, very illegal to sell drugs in the streets, to lay around in the streets and inject fucking dirty needles into your arm and spread any manner of disease. I think that this is true of alcohol. Alcohol is legal, but you can't wander around stumbling drunk on the streets without putting yourself at risk of getting charged. I think that driving while intoxicated, it should be illegal. Driving under the influence of drugs, if you can't operate a motor vehicle, then you should be taken out from behind the wheel of a fucking car. To me, these are just no-brainer things. It's the obvious way to handle a situation. And it's the polar opposite of what we saw happen in Portland and Pittsburgh or Philly, I can't remember which one it is, somewhere in Pennsylvania. All over the fucking West Coast, you've got these open-air drug markets. You got people stumbling around on this new drug xylazine like fucking zombies. The opioid crisis is gripping America. And it's just a disgusting disaster. And I think that it's not helping anybody. Clearly, putting these people in prison doesn't solve the problem. Treatment works in very few cases. I actually personally think that not only should drugs be legal, but that they should be able to be purchased over the counter. Like I literally think you should be able to walk into a fucking pharmacy and walk out with a personal supply of heroin. Because I don't believe that's really going to change anything. I don't think, if they legalized heroin in Texas tomorrow, I would absolutely not run out and get some. And I'm a drug addict. If they legalized crystal meth tomorrow, currently I would not run out and get some. It has been something that I cannot control. I just think that if a person is going to kill themselves on drugs, let them. Fucking let them. That's what happened to my brother. Everyone tried to stop it. We put him in all kinds of different facilities. He was locked into a mental ward on 2 different occasions. He had a brain infection that he almost died for and was hospitalized for many weeks. I mean, we had interventions. We had therapists. We had him. He was arrested and held in county for 9 months on one charge. That didn't get him clean. I know from my own personal experiences, to some degree, as a drug addict, it's not ever really about being clean. It's about finding the way to manage your disease. So many people have argued that I never really got clean, that I just traded street drugs for anabolics. And I think that that's a very fair accusation or a very fair view. I definitely get psychological effects from the hormones that I use. It's probably not surprising that I love Tren so much. And so I'm going to do this one way or the other. And so I think Americans should be free to do that. And if I kill myself, that's on me. You know, as long as I'm not endangering the lives of anyone else, then I think that it should be out of the hands, of the legal system and the legislative system in our country to get involved in that. I do, however, believe that if you are going to get any kind of government aid, food stamps, light bill assistance, anything, government grants, that you should have to subject yourself to a fucking drug test. I think that's fair. I think it's absolutely insane that it's considered racist to drug test people who don't work and live off of the government. Okay, this is again an example of how the liberal agenda just destroys everything it touches. Helping people in need is a good idea. Helping people in need by holding them down and allowing themselves to hold themselves down, to not get jobs, to continue to use drugs, this is not good for anyone. Okay, decriminalizing drugs and stop locking up every single pothead that on the street or in their home is a good idea. We should definitely decriminalize drugs. But allowing zombies to wander around in public spaces selling heroin is insane. In the same way that I think that we definitely need criminal reform in this country. I think many of our laws are totally out of control. That doesn't mean that you can just cut loose every single person who gets arrested for a crime with no bail, or that you can stop punishing people for stealing. And then you have situations like I saw on Twitter today where they showed a Target in California, and it's just aisle by aisle. Every shelf is behind a glass case. 100% of the items in the store are locked behind a glass case. It's like, what's the fucking point of even going to the store? You might as well just buy it on Amazon and have it delivered to your front door. I can't even imagine what it must be like to shop in these places. You get to get followed around by somebody who works here to get shit out of the cases. And eventually this is not going to work. They're going to come in here and smash all of the cases, or they're going to come in there and assault one of the workers who has the keys, run around, unlock all of the cases, and then let all of the filth come in and loot the fucking store again. This is what happens under the watch of idiots like Gavin Newsom. He is a low-life piece of shit. I don't know why you people voted for him. He's probably going to end up getting elected president one day, knowing the way that the fucking people in this country seem to view the legal system, I don't even know. I mean, I am fucking speechless for understanding how these agendas could ever have been put into place. I lay in bed at night just racking my brain, trying to figure out how we do some of the shit we do in this country. So we let illegal aliens cross the border illegally. Then we pass laws making it illegal to kick them out. Then we allow them to go to our schools, use our medical care system, get free benefits. give them driver's license, and now they're trying to suggest that it would be against their constitutional rights not for them to be able to vote? They're criminals. They broke the fucking law. If I break into my neighbor's house, my constitutional rights cease the moment I step foot in that fucking door. If he happens to have a shotgun and takes my fucking head off with it, he's well within his constitutional rights to do so. But no, not in these liberal havens where we've just got people flooding across the border and they come in protected. So they commit a crime and end up having more rights than I do as a tax-paying American. Okay, this is the fucking definition of insanity. And if this is the way you vote, then as far as I'm concerned, you are fucking insane. You are fucking part of the problem, and your worldview is not sustainable. And we see that happening time and time again. California is not a sustainable state. Gavin Newsom is an idiot, and he's already proven it by having to finally throw his hands up and call in the fucking National Guard to clean up his mess. This will continue to happen in all of the fucking states and cities where these types of insane laws are passed. So let's wake the fuck up. Again, like I'm talking about this middle ground. Somebody was saying that there's no hope of a real middle ground. Sir, I think it was Ocean something. I fully understand what you're saying, and your post was thought-provoking, or your comment was thought-provoking. When I read what you said about how Bill Clinton would be right-wing today, it really took my breath away because I recognized how right you probably are. Like, the left has gone so far left that what I grew up thinking was the left is probably now a Republican. It's hard to even make sense of any of this. But so for me, the middle ground is some place where we don't have the Christian right running around unfettered, because I think that could definitely be bad. Unfortunately, I have no problem with Christian people, but when Christian people get too much power, they start trying to force their will upon everyone else, and I don't think that's what this country was built upon. I'm not even arguing whether or not you're right. That's not the point. You may be right. I don't know. I'm just saying that's not what the country was built upon. When the left decides to just pull their fucking pants down and give everything away and hide behind wokeism and hide behind the fear of being called a racist and just let the mongrels in our society pick the bones clean of our democracy, this is not going to work either. There has to be somewhere where we can have reasonable rights, where we can all follow the American dream, where we can get help when we need it, but not enable people to systematically destroy themselves. And maybe I'm delusional. I don't know, but it is definitely my fairy tale idea. If I'm being quite honest, I think the only solution to finding some kind of middle ground is unfortunately a dictatorship. It may be what happens in this country. I would be just as happy for somebody to come in here heavy-fisted and just shut this shit down, because I think it's gotten completely out of control. I keep hoping that the pendulum is going to swing from the extreme left back toward the right, and maybe, the topic that I started this video ranting about with the Budweiser situation is an example of where maybe we can pick up some momentum and swing the pendulum back a little bit towards sanity. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But there you have it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this rather emotional take on these situations. I would love to read your comments on my views in the comment section below. Protect the cycle. Also like to shout out to Nemi W. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Nemiw, I believe. This guy's been a long-time follower of the channel. Sometimes writes more comments than I can even keep up with. So I really appreciate you in the comments. Try to make sure I point out you guys as I go along. Big shout out to Nemi. Appreciate your support, brother. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.